In 1925, Sigmund Freud, the towering father of psychoanalysis, introduced a concept that would ignite fierce debates in the decades to follow: penis envy. To the casual observer, it might seem like just another academic theory buried within Freud's many layers of thought. But beneath this seemingly clinical term lies a reflection of the man's profound and at times disturbing views on women. Freud, like many intellectual giants of his time, operated in an era where the world was unmistakably shaped by patriarchal norms. He did not invent misogyny, but he certainly fed from its roots, and in many ways, he codified it into the language of modern psychology. When he penned his theory of penis envy, Freud wasn't simply presenting an isolated idea. He was laying bare his deeply ingrained belief that women, by their very nature, were fundamentally incomplete beings. To Freud, a woman's experience of life was marked from an early age by a singular and powerful realization. She lacked what her male counterpart possessed. In this realization, Freud found the cornerstone of female psychology. A girl, he believed, saw herself as castrated, incomplete, missing the crucial organ that defined power, agency, and identity. This sense of lack, according to Freud, became the central force driving female development. A woman, unable to possess the phallus, would forever live in a shadow of inferiority, constantly yearning to compensate for her deficiency through men, whether it be through marriage, motherhood, or submission. Sharp and unapologetic, Freud's theory offers no room for sentimentality. He saw womanhood as a condition that was not equal, but innately secondary. A woman was, in his eyes, not a male's counterpart, but rather a pale reflection of what a man could be. The male was the standard, the sun around which all revolved, and the female was left to circle in the cold shadow of that light, forever defined by what she did not have, rather than what she possessed. Many modern critics, especially feminists, have accused Freud of outright misogyny, of hating women, and to some extent, their criticism is justified. Freud's work is steeped in the kind of masculine sharpness that dismisses the possibility of female autonomy or completeness. He didn't just theorize about women. He dissected them with the precision of a surgeon who never believed in their full potential for life. In Freud's lens, a woman could never be as whole as a man. Her psyche was forever intertwined with this absence, this lack, and her life's aim was, in many ways, to find a surrogate for what she could never truly have. Freud's harshness, his coldness toward women, lies in his unwillingness to romanticize femininity. In his clinical approach, he tore away the veils of cultural niceties and exposed what he saw as the brutal truth. A woman, biologically and psychologically, could never escape the fact that she was not a man. Her life's trajectory was marked by this failure to be the complete, dominant creature that men naturally were. Even motherhood, in Freud's view, was not an assertion of female power, but a desperate attempt to possess through the child what she lacked. It is tempting to view Freud as simply a man of his time, but his theories extend far beyond the common prejudices of the era. Where other men might have viewed women as inferior but still capable of independence or autonomy, Freud went deeper. He believed that this inferiority was rooted in the very structure of the psyche, that the female mind itself was bound by this sense of loss and inadequacy. There's a certain masculine sharpness in Freud's philosophy that is difficult to ignore. His worldview, shaped by the unyielding rationality of science and the harsh realities of human nature, left little room for sentiment or compassion. His view of women, through the lens of psychoanalysis, is as much a reflection of his clinical detachment as it is of his personal biases. Women, in Freud's universe, were forever reaching, striving for a completeness that eluded them, and this struggle defined their psychological existence. To align oneself with Freud's thought requires a certain willingness to embrace this cold, sharp view of life. It demands an acknowledgement that human nature is not always fair, and that some are born into roles and conditions from which they can never escape. Freud's depiction of women is not one of hatred in the sense of emotional disdain, but rather a clinical, almost brutal acknowledgement of what he perceived to be the biological and psychological reality. It's a philosophy that leaves little room for warmth or hope. Freud saw the female condition as one of perpetual incompleteness. His theories were not crafted to uplift or empower, but to explain, in the most detached terms, why women were as they were. They were, in his mind, creatures marked by their lack, forever defined by what they could not have and would never be. Freud's sharpness toward women, his so-called hatred, may not have been personal. It was, rather, an expression of his broader philosophical worldview. a worldview that saw life through the harsh, unforgiving lens of psychoanalysis, where the mind was driven by forces beyond its control, and where the shadow of the phallus cast a long and unshakable darkness over the lives of women.